Hi, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I'm your host, Sandy Lowries, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly brought to us by WB40, Women Beyond 40, a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond who want to talk about all the stuff others don't want to. You can join us at WB40.com. Before I begin today's podcast, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded and where I live and play. And in that case, it's the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. And I want to pay my genuine respect to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And I want to pay homage to their ancient history of storytelling. Today in the podcast, if you like a wine, and I don't mean a whinge, if you like a glass of wine and you've always wanted to know more about the wine industry, then you are going to love our next guest. I am really excited to have a chat with Kelly Pearson. She is a woman in the wine making industry who is collaborating with other female winemakers, which I think is incredible. She heads up her own business, which is called, I love this so much, Ladygarden Wines. Yes, pun intended, I love. She brings so much energy and passion to the winemaking field. She is fun, energetic. She makes a variety of wine, and I think I'm going to learn quite a lot today. Please welcome to the podcast, Kelly Pearson.
Hey there! When Sandy's not interviewing kick-ass women, she's hanging out with me at Alex the Seal, a podcast about music and nostalgia. I'm Jo Pybus, and each episode, Sandy and I talk about all the songs that got us hooked up, knocked up, and broken up. Do yourself a favour and search Alex the Seal on your podcast app. Love you, Molly!
Hi, Kelly, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, Sandy. Thanks so much for having me. It's really exciting to be having a chat about wine, the things that I love, wine.
I'm super excited, and I'm only sorry that I didn't do this podcast later in the day, because then we could have both been having a wine.
Well, it is past midday. Sometimes we are on somewhere.
Actually, you're right. Sorry about that. I am so excited to chat with you today because you are the very first female winemaker and producer that I've actually had on the Good Girl Confessional, so that's super exciting.
Oh, that's really great to be the first.
It's always good to be the first.
That's right.
Be gentle. So I think I'm totally in love with everything that you are doing, and especially your passion for what you're doing. So there's so much to cover in this podcast. I guess, number one, we should talk about your business, which is called Ladygarden Wines. And my God, I love that. I love it.
Yeah, thanks. It had a bit of a fun start. So I had a business partnership a while ago, and we had an overarching name for the business and a key brand. And then we wanted to do some fun and, some fun side projects and so forth. And we were at a friend's birthday party, and there was a few wines consumed, etc. And she said, we should call it Ladygarden. I said, oh, that's a bit cheeky. And then she said, no, but we're ladies and it's the grape garden. And I went, yeah, okay, cool. And so the night progressed. We thought that was hysterical. We loved it. And then her partner, or husband at the time, had said to her, oh, look, I'm not sure if I can give you any money. I don't think that's a really good idea for your business and everything. Anyway, the next morning she's rang me and said, Dave's in, it's all good. And I said, I don't know what you wanted to persuade him to. So, yeah, unfortunately, that business relationship folded, and I've taken – I always had in the back of my mind maybe we could go down this track, but when it became mine and I got the IP going forward, I'd always had the idea that I wanted to partner with other women in the industry. Doing things on your own is it's rewarding and so forth, but, I wanted to partner with other people. I wanted to give back. And so that idea has started to change and morph and evolve into what it is now. So that's a wine business, which is all about celebrating women in wine. I've got wines under the Ladygarden label where I make a couple, and then every year I partner with other women winemakers from around Australia. Last year I partnered with Anita Good from Wangalina, Erin Pooley from Little Francis, and Kelly Russell from Ballerina State. She looked after my Geelong fruit while I was interstate. This coming year I'm working with Chloe Kelly from Joy John Wines, Grace Douglas from Feathertop, Kim Carr from Dreambird Wines in WA. Very excited to meet her in person next week. I'm heading to WA. And I'm hoping to, and I won't say who yet, but I'm hoping to work with an old university lecturer on Wine for This and another really exciting project that we're thinking about as well. So we're doing that. I'm working with people who have been in the industry for a while, some people who are new, giving them a leg up. I've had, I think I told you, 27 years experience in the industry. It's a long time. Feel like I've been doing it forever. And 19 years winemaking and 27. This is my 26th vintage. So wow. Some years I've done a couple of vintages and so forth. So, yeah, quite overwhelming when you sort of stop and go, that's a lot of stuff that I've done. But that's what I want to do, is I want to get back to partnering and working with interesting people. And this allows me to do that in my Partners with Wine program. So that's sort of where I'm at with Ladygarden at the moment. It's continually, morphing and changing and evolving, which is exciting, because every time I come up with a new idea, I have to put that into the whiteboard, top left-hand corner, think about it later, concentrate on the now.
I love that, though. I love the idea of them. And obviously everything I do on my platform is about women and about women's stories. And I love the idea of, when I meet women whose businesses are all about that, helping other women to kind of rise in whatever industry it is, but partnering with other women, because I'm a big believer that when collaboration happens, magic happens, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's one thing to do things on your own and achieve, and that's really awesome, but I thrive with other people. And if you want to go back to talking things about your why, Simon Sinek, we all love him. Well, maybe not everyone, but finding your why. And I worked with someone a little while ago, and essentially my why is bringing people together and telling a story, and my how is wine. And, that's my thing. I want to give back. When I get more established and I've got, I'm making money and doing all right and actually starting to pay myself. I'm hoping to give back into either create a women's-based charity, because I've got a couple that are very close to my heart, or donate to them and make that part of very much the ethos of what Ladygarden's all about. I love that.
So that's giving to the community, but also giving to the wine community. I'd like to create maybe a textbook scholarship for some university students. Some, internship opportunities, network for job placements at vintage time and that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's so exciting. And I've got to say, coming into this, the reason I love how passionate you are about all of this is because, hand on heart, I love wine, and everybody knows I like to drink it. I do drink a fair bit, but I really don't know, if I'm honest, I don't know a lot about wine. And I always say to people, I know what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah.
But I was saying to you just before we had a little chat before we've started recording about how it's very mysterious, right? For a lot of people, there's a bit of mystery that goes on between, say, when those vines are planted and it seems effortless. Like I can just walk into a bottle shop or go to a winery and I can just buy this beautiful bottle of wine and come home and crack it open and have a drink. But there's so much, like it's an absolute science. I know that much. And I've been to wineries and I've sort of talked to people, but I don't know anything about it. And I think this is going to be so exciting for so many women listening to you to hear about the backstory of how that magic happens.
Yeah, it is magic, and it's easy for you to walk into the shop and get a beautiful bottle of wine, or go to the winery and sit outside on the sunny afternoon and enjoy it with a platter, an antipasto platter. Yeah, there is an awful lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and beers that go into winemaking. What's the saying? It takes a lot of beer to make a good wine, because at vintage time you're dealing with fermenting grape juice, and it's messy, it's dirty. Cold beer, obviously that's not everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, look, it's essentially it's primary industry. It's a grape growing, obviously, part of it, and it's all down to you're at the whim of Mother Nature. So that's why every year is different. And, obviously commercial wines try to keep wines to a sort of a very standard. So when the consumer goes in and they're spending their $10 or $15, they know that they're getting that bottle of wine. But when you're moving into sort of the higher price brackets and people understand wine a bit more, they understand the difference and the variation from year to year. And that can be because, for example, this year we've had a very cool, wet spring leading into summer. It's been quite cool. We haven't had many days over 30. Well, I'm in Geelong, so that's here, but it is quite around the place. So that's really, it comes down to what happens in the vineyard, and then, of course, it comes to the winery. And even when it's small batch right through to huge, big commercial winemaking, it's a process, and it is science, but it's also an art. So you have to understand the science to be able to do the art. There's winemakers who are completely focused on the numbers and the analysis and the science and so forth, and then there's people who are completely focused just on the art. I think a good blend of both is what makes the wine. But you can't just be a winemaker and not love and be excited and passionate about it. So, you could, work in a bank or be an accountant or something like that, not necessarily be passionate about numbers, but you can do the job or whatever it might be. But for this, a bit of you ends up in that bottle, a bit of your heart ends up in that bottle every time. So, if your heart's not in it, that does, and your love's not there, it does show in the bottle. So, it's crazy. It's that period of time in sort of where anywhere between February and April, May, or January, even in some places, where the grapes are becoming ripe, they're picking and processing, etc., and they're long, hard, arduous hours. And we always joke, I've placed someone this year who's brand new to the wine industry, and she wanted to do a vintage. She'd been working in retail, and she's from the UK. It's a friend of a friend's daughter. And I said to her, okay, so vintage is about crushing the grapes, cleaning, pressing the grapes, cleaning, plunging and fermenting the grapes and cleaning, bit of lab work and then some cleaning. And then when you've completely finished for the day, or you think you have, then there's cleaning. So it's a constant process. It's very physical. It's a lot of hard work. And we hate to love it, but we love to hate it.
Because it's like, I guess, any job, it's like you can do the things that you really love, but there's still always going to be cleaning or admin or whatever it may be, right? There's always that bit of the job that's the necessary evil, but it has to be done, right? Yeah. But you do that quite willingly because really it's the other stuff that you're so in love with, right?
And every year, every time anyone says, it's getting close to Christmas, I say, no, not because Christmas madness, because when Christmas is done, we're planning for vintage. It's like, no. And then vintage starts and you think, I haven't done this for 12 months and what happens here? But 27 vintage, 26 vintages, and I still sometimes think, I have some press work again. You've got all this, and that's another thing. You've got this huge capital investment in equipment that's used for 6, maybe 8 weeks of the year.
Wow.
So it's a fascinating industry. And everyone's enamored of the tail end of it, the wine dinners and the lunches and the, enjoying that and the socializing and everything that goes with wine and the flavors and the food matching and all that sort of stuff. But, we've got to take it right back to where it starts in the vineyard. I'm not a vineyard owner, but I do work closely with all my growers. And it just never astounds me, the work and the passion that they put into it, because you can't make a great wine out of crap grapes.
Yes, I find that
you can make a crap wine out of great grapes. So.
Note to self. No.
Yeah.
I'm kind of fascinated by that as well. At sort of, I don't know, sort of towards the end of last year, my partner and I were down in Bendigo, and what I realised in that, we went around to a number of different wineries. We really wanted to kind of start. We've done this a couple of times where we go to different places and try and support wineries and buy from them directly rather than walking into, say, your Dan Murphy's. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because they do actually prop up the wine industry as well.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice to be able to go to a winery and talk to the owners or talk to the grower or whoever it was.
Hello,
And,
Sandy here
I
from the
guess
Good Girl
one of the
Confessional
things that
podcast. The
I'm
Good Girl
learning a lot as
Confessional
well is that
podcast
with wine,
is
it's
proudly
really,
brought to us by
dependent on the region
WB40,
as well.
a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see the rest of the video, please head over to WB40.com and subscribe to WB40 Extra. By subscribing to WB40 Extra, you're helping to support the hard-won wisdom of incredible women. So thank you. Please remember to like, share and follow.